How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the latest of Schmoedown Central. I'm your host, Brad Thomas, breaking down the week that was in the movie trivia Schmoedown. We had two big singles matchups this week, of course. Finishing up round one of the tournament, who was going to go on and advance. Coming through in the end, of course, two strong bettors will be out, unfortunately, for the year, but again, two strong bettors will be moving on to create some very exciting and interesting matchups in round number two. So let's get into what happened on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we had Clarke Wolfe taking on Ben Bateman. Ben Bateman coming in with the 4-3 record, one knockout, ranked number 14, while Clarke Wolfe coming in with the 6-5 record, ranked number 2. Round number one, Clarke missing on the first question, so having to play with a 1-point deficit for the beginning of that round, but managing to battle back, tying it on question number 6 as Ben Bateman kind of faltered on the final couple questions. Clarke ends up going 6 for 8, Ben going 5 for 8 in round number 1, and Clarke, of course, getting that lead on the final question, the 8th question, to take that 1-point lead over Ben Bateman heading into round number 2. A solid round for Clarke Wolfe, and Ben Bateman only down by a point. And in round number 2, Clarke ends up getting some luck on the wheel spin and spins the category of horror movies and goes 4 for 4, getting a possible 7 out of 8 points. A very impressive round for Clarke Wolfe, putting the pressure for Ben Bateman to get a solid round and rebound to make up the 8-point deficit currently facing Ben Bateman midway through round 2 as Clarke Wolfe leads 13-5. And for Ben's spin in round number 2, he spins the category of Brad Pitt movies. Despite a little bit of hesitation on taking the category, he does even better than Clarke Wolfe, going 4 for 4 and getting a possible 8 out of 8 points. A perfect round number 2 for Ben Bateman to end up tying the game at 13-13. A very impressive round by Ben Bateman. Needed that round to keep pace with Clarke Wolfe and now set it up for a very entertaining round number 3. And Ben was up first with the category of sports movies, and he gets that first question correct to get 2 points on the board and go up by 2. Clarke Wolfe, her first question coming in the category of rom-coms, and again getting that question correct to tie it back up at 15-15. Ben, though, question number 2, gets the category of Julia Roberts movies, has a question about Hook, and unfortunately unable to get the question, much to the surprise of everyone in the crowd, and especially Clarke Wolfe. Would this come back to bite him? Clarke Wolfe, her 3-pointer, coming in the category of Charlize Theron movies, and she gets that question correct to now put the pressure on Ben Bateman by a score of 18-15. Ben, his 5-pointer, needed to hit this to stay alive, came in the category of 90s movies, and Ben gets that question correct to now go up by 2 points by a score of 20-18. Clarke, her 5-pointer, coming in the category of thrillers, a strength of Clarke Wolfe's, and again, no hesitation, gets this question correct as Clarke Wolfe wins it by a score of 23-20, advancing in a singles tournament for the first time. With the victory, Clarke improves to 7-5, while Ben Bateman now falling to 4-4 with one knockout. Clarke, she went 13 for 15 for 87%, one of her best games she's ever played, while Ben Bateman again going 11 for 15 for 73%. He's been consistent as of late, just not enough to get past Clarke Wolfe in the tournament. Very exciting round 1 matchup. Ben Bateman unfortunately couldn't ride that hot streak any longer as Clarke will now advance to play Mark Andreyko in round number 2. So Clarke Wolfe moving on and will play Mark Andreyko in round number 2. A lot also happening on the other side of things, but Clarke Wolfe, the story here, impressive victory for her, moving on, defeating Ben Bateman, killing his hot streak and his run there. Of course, the rematch will kind of be happening in a way of a team title matchup later on at the Spectacular. But a lot happening. There's this new kind of Commissioner Bowl now, some players getting involved and whatnot, especially when you go into next matchup as well, where you see some other people become included in it. Of course, now Tom Dagnino going to be involved, and I'll just skip right to it. Emma Fies also will be involved. Kind of all this whole boycott with Brienne, so that's very interesting on itself there. What is Brienne's actual plan here? I'm very interested to see. Give me some more thoughts on that. I saw a couple comments last week. Let me know also your thoughts. What is Brienne's plan? What is her full grand scheme? I'm very interested in hearing that. There's the stuff with the boycott and all that as well, but it looks like just a play potentially for Brienne to potentially get Tom into this kind of commissioner thing. Is Brienne working with Tom? What is exactly happening there? Love hearing all your thoughts, but let's get into the other match that happened on Friday. So on Friday, we had Dan Murrell taking on Stacy Howard. Stacy Howard coming in with the 4-2 record, one knockout, ranked number 11, while Dan Murrell coming in with the 7-3 record, 4 knockouts, and ranked number 1. Round number 1, though, Dan Murrell was on fire in this round, having a perfect game for him, going a perfect 8 for 8, while Stacy trying to keep pace, unable to do so quite so much, getting 50% of her questions correct, going 4 for 8 in round number 1. Not enough to catch up to Dan Murrell, and of course Dan Murrell also getting his bonus question correct to go a perfect 9 for 9 and a very impressive run to start the game and go up by a 5-point margin heading into round number 2. And in round number 2, Stacy up first, spinning the category of directors yet again, seems to always get this category. And not the best round for Stacy Howard, going 50% in the round, giving up a 2-point steal, not something you really want to give up, and also another 1-point steal in the round to go a total of 2 out of 4 for a possible 3 to 8 points. Kind of giving up just as much as she gained, so still keeping that 5-point margin as Dan now led by a score of 12 to 7. And Dan Murrell up next, getting the category of new releases, deciding to stick with that one, a big strength of his as he sees a lot of movies and doing quite well for himself, getting every question correct along the way, and on that final one, it was the dagger in the coffin, going 4 for 4, getting a possible 6 out of 8 points as Dan Murrell won it via a perfect game and via knockout by a score of 18 to 7. Moving on, and will now play Ethan Irwin in round number 2. With the victory, Dan Murrell improves to 8-3 with now 5 knockouts, an astounding number there, and Stacy Howard going to 4-3 with 1 knockout. Murrell going 13 for 13 for 100%, the perfect game for Dan Murrell, the first that he's ever had, while Stacy Howard going 6 for 12 for questions he was asked for 50%. Just a little bit outmatched here for Stacy Howard in this game. Dan Murrell looking like the Dan Murrell of old, or potentially even better, one of his best games he's ever played. So like I said, with the victory, Dan Murrell now going up against Ethan Irwin. That should be a heavyweight of a matchup. I cannot wait to see what that goes down there. 2 titans of the game, 2 of the best that we've ever seen. It will be very impressive for whoever pulls out that victory, a very impressive victory for whoever does that. Unfortunately for Stacy Howard, just not having the luck there in the tournament. Unfortunately, couldn't pull up the big upset there, but Stacy Howard's still one of the best competitors we have in this league, and I'm excited to see what she does next season, of course. But again, the story here, Dan Murrell 100% will play Ethan Irwin next round. I cannot wait. One of my most anticipated matchups, I think, potentially of this entire tournament happening next week, of course, on the Schmoedown. So next week on the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, we got the remainder of the tournament, the semifinals playing out here. Ethan Irwin will take on Dan Murrell on December 4th. That should be, again, like I said, an exciting matchup. I'm very excited to see this go down. 2 of the best to ever play. Ethan Irwin coming off a great season, a great victory in his last match, of course. So this one will be potential winner of the tournament. Who knows? It remains to be seen yet, but of course, a very interesting one. I don't know who you necessarily pick for this one because I think it really all comes down to that wheel round. Can Dan Murrell get something he likes? Can he have some of the luck that maybe he had this past week? Not the bad luck that he has been having previously. And will Ethan Irwin know something? Maybe he gets stuck with animated and then Dan Murrell can capitalize on that. Again, it remains to be seen, but exciting one nonetheless. Then on that Friday, we got Mark and Draco taking on Clarke Wolfe, the Fife Club, coming together, will face up against one another. Should be a friendly matchup, much like the other matchup as well. But can Clarke Wolfe make her way to another title shot yet again, or Mark and Draco get another title shot and get that chance to go at John Roca? Of course, have to go through the winner of Ethan Irwin and Dan Murrell first, but again, it will be an exciting one. Clarke Wolfe, I think you got to put your money on her. She's had that experience. She's on a hot streak, playing one of her best matchups last week. But anything can happen in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, and I think, again, it will come down to that wheel round. Who has the best luck in round number 2? That's who I think will get the victory in round number 2 of this tournament. As for our play of the week, that's got to be Dan Murrell's round number 1, getting the perfect 9 for 9, getting the bonus question, really set it up to give that 5-point lead and set him up for victory, of course, in the coming rounds. I really could say Dan Murrell's entire game was his best play. Of course, that round number 2 as well, where he got a couple steals along the way. Nonetheless, Dan Murrell's round number 1 really what set him up to get that victory over Stacy Howard. So as for our misplay of the week, that's got to be Ben Bateman, his round number 3, question number 2, the 3-pointer. Unable to come up with the answer to the hook question, unfortunately, much to the shock of pretty much everybody, especially Clarke Wolfe. Unable to come up with that question, potential misplay there. Again, I don't know if he actually knew it, so it might not be the most obvious answer, but to a lot of people it seemed like it was. That's why we're going with that for our misplay. Again, these tournaments, it's very difficult to come up with misplays because everybody is so good. Either you know it or you don't know it. Not too many big mistakes this week, but that's what we're going for the misplay of the week. But as for our player of the week, that's got to, of course, be Dan Murrell. 13 for 13, 100%, improving to 8-3 now with 5 knockouts. A very impressive statistic on that point there. Dan Murrell, one of the best, proving why he is one of the best, and getting back to form, getting that A-game form, not performing like he did against Andrew Guy, but instead the Dan Murrell of old, or potentially now the Dan Murrell of new, of course, getting 100% for the first time ever for Dan Murrell. Not able to get the 100% perfect game because he had to go to multiple choice, but still 100%, a very impressive victory. Clarke Wolfe pretty much had this in the bag, but Dan Murrell showed up this week and proved why he's one of the best. So that's it for this episode of Schmoedown Central. Be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe for more videos each week. Leave all your thoughts in that comment section below. Love hearing them all. Love hearing your predictions, especially for these storyline predictions. I'm very interested to see where things are going, where you think things are headed. Who's really pulling the strings exactly? And I'm like, for anybody, for example, are Emma Fyffe and Tom Dagnino gonna form a friendship? Anything is possible in this one, of course. That there was, of course, that rivalry there, but there was also where Emma Fyffe was quoting Tom as well during the kind of backstage segment. So who knows who's aligned with who? Is Thad and Kalinowski still getting together? Who's Brienne working for? Is she with Dagnino? Is Christian Harloff pulling everyone's strings and creating this whole thing? What is happening? Of course, we have that other random person from a few weeks back. What's happening there? Of course, let me know all of that in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Follow me on Twitter at 94BradThomas or at Schmoedown to keep up to date in my world and the world of Schmoedown Central, just in general. So that does it for this week's episode. Of course, again, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all next week on Schmoedown Central.